It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
And sponsored by smashingpennies.net. Get 10% off your order with code Geocache Talk Network. They are perfect to put in a geocache. Network. They are perfect.
Oh, somebody's audio is pretty loud. I may have turned down some audio somewhere, but that's okay. Big thanks to Derek, Baker Six Clan, for the graphics, and our featured patrons. Hang on.
To Derek, Baker Six Clan.
Hold on. There's Lori. Hang on. One of y'all need to turn your audio down a little bit if you would. Lori, your audio might be real high. Just your speakers might be on too high because it's feeding back through. Is all. No problem. All right. Big thanks to Baker Six Clan for the graphics. Our featured patrons, Team D&D, Bob Billy, Redneck Geocacher, Peachy 1276, the No Code Geocachers, Bricker John, FireSafe, FS Sabero, Geo Rick, Cash Addict Mel. I saw her. She's in the chat room. Denise and our new patrons,
Geo Rick,
Tien Duke,
Mel.
Oh my gosh, somebody's audio is really bad. Lori, you'll need to turn down your volume for us, if you would, please. Here, let me bring her back. Let me on for a minute. So, everybody can unmute for a moment. Let me unmute everybody. Everybody's gonna have to unmute. Go ahead, everybody unmute. We'll fix it. We'll fix it real quick. We'll take a second.
Hey, technical difficulties, it happens from time to time, right?
Everybody unmute. Let's get Lori unmuted. Lori, you'll have to push the unmute button.
There you go.
Everybody unmute. Let's get Lori unmuted.
Oh, I know what might be happening. Do you have the show pulled up on your laptop?
I don't think so. Let me try. Make sure.
The show pulled up?
No.
On your laptop?
You don't have YouTube up? Okay. It sounds like you have YouTube up at the same time as StreamYard.
You don't have YouTube up? Okay. It sounds like
it's got to be that. You got to have YouTube up. Can you try to close whatever screens other than StreamYard, if you would?
It's got to be that.
Keep StreamYard up. But I bet you've got YouTube going. Maybe now it's gone. It's gone now.
Closed everything.
There you go. I think you're good.
You're good, yeah.
We're all set.
Yes.
All right. We're rolling now. No. All right. So, welcome. Here are our guests. We'll talk to them here in a moment, and we'll introduce each one in a moment. But before that, Jesse, we have a couple of announcements we need to do. Let's do the announcements first. So first announcement is that this Thursday we will be having the Podcast of Hope lineup show. Yes, it's a show about a show. What did one person say? Oh, it's like the y'all like this. They said it's like the tailgate. It's like tailgating before a big game.
There you go. That's fun. Yeah.
We're going to tailgate before Podcast of Hope. We're going to talk about the lineup, and maybe we'll give something away that night too. That'll be fun. That's Thursday night at 7 p.m. Then I've got another announcement. A lot of bean spillage tonight, Phil. We have decided to move the show up an hour because Jesse's old.
Ouch. Why? Or we're just
kidding.
streamlining everything at 7 p.m. It's a lot easier that way. Come on.
Everything's going to be 7 p.m.
Just like the Thursday show was, and this Thursday show is, and Sunday shows are going to be. We're trying to simplify things again.
Yeah. The Thursday.
And Jesse's old.
And Jesse, well, Jesse's in Eastern time now, where he used to not be in Eastern. He is now an hour ahead. So now the Tuesday shows are still going to be at their regular time, unless they want to move their time up. I don't know. Those shows aren't affected. Just Sunday night will be on at 7 p.m. Yeah, most people are agreeing with Houston, Texas Dave.
Yeah. Wait, we're trying to listen to people. We're trying. We're not always good at listening, but we try. We're slow.
We're making a few changes. So, yeah, Happy Hodag says, yeah, tailgating before a game. Absolutely. So, after tonight, going forward, Geocache Talk will be on at 7 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Eastern, and change your time accordingly. The other good thing about that is that one thing that occurs is that we get a lot of European listeners to the pod, because we do the audio too. And so they listen, most of them are listening to the audio in a car or, when they're traveling. And so I'll be able to get them the audio a little bit quicker. Because I do have some people that are like, hey, I go through London traffic and I listen to you guys, but we're 6 hours different. So this way it'll show up a little earlier on their time. So there you go. A lot of people are excited about that. Strek 2 is excited too. All right. And Pizza Ninja loves it. So we have a lot of people who are excited. That's great. Well, whatever we can do to kind of help along. So
yeah.
All right. So I'm going to leave another item that I've got for next week. So let's just dive right in here. So let me introduce who we've got tonight. Let me start with Phil down here, Mr. Little Black Dog. There's Phil. Hey, buddy. Phil recently moved. He's now a Vermont cacher, correct?
That's correct. Yep, absolutely. Central Vermont.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's such a great area. And then
now, when you moved, did it change your ranking in the state? Did you go up or down? You checked.
Yeah, it definitely did change my ranking, and I definitely did go up.
Checking everything, I tell you.
It depends on what you're talking about ranking too. There's always, what are you talking? Total quantity of finds, or whatever special niche ranking you want to have.
Well, we all have them. We all have those things where we compare ourselves to other people with whatever it's hides, finds, or whatever else. We know we all have them, even if we don't admit it. So when you change states, it changes everything, and you got to check that stuff. You know what happens. We all check it.
That's true.
And then one of our featured hosts, get a guest from time to time, Super Nate.
Hello.
Good to see you, my friend. Yeah. Nate is, one of our other longtime compadres, listeners, and patrons, and sporting a little Texas challenge. We're talking challenges tonight, so this is kind of works well.
Mhm.
Got his Texas Challenge shirt, and you got the coin, and the rest of us don't have it yet
Mm.
because you
Man,
saw
I
Charles.
should have brought my coin down here with me so I could show it off to you guys. It's a very impressive geocoin.
You could brag about having it. Mine's supposed to be in the mail, but you know how that is. Whether it shows up or not, who knows? But yeah, I'm glad you got your Texas Challenge coin, and then our featured guest, Lori. Hi, Lori.
Hey,
Very excited that Lori's not 30, I guess not 30,000 feet. If you're flying down to Brazil, is it what, 50,000 feet? What do you
oh
normally?
no. Usually in the mid to high 30s.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Lori is a pilot for American Airlines. And so I've already bugged her quite a few times already about, hey, how does this work? And she's been patient enough to put up with my foolish questions about flying. The last one I'm going to say, and I know if you guys ever had this experience, and then we'll get into the actual show. Flying into Logan Airport, and she knows what I'm going to say. When you're a passenger, you can't see out the front. The pilots do, obviously. But when you're a passenger and you've never flown into Logan before, which I've flown in there many times now, but you look out the window and you go, that water is getting awfully close. You could see fish almost, and then all of a sudden you hit the airport. So from a person a passenger, you can imagine you're like, we're really close to the water out here, because obviously that's the way the Logan Airport is made. So
Same for the San Francisco airport.
I was just going to say San Francisco is exactly the same way. And fog.
Yes, I've flown into San Francisco several times, and that's another one that makes you clench a little.
Because you can't see the front like the
Right.
pilots can.
Yeah.
So, but fortunately, Lori's with us tonight, so this is great. She was specially requested because we're going to talk about caches across America. How is that the way to put it?
Across America.
Cache across
Cache
America.
across
Cache
America.
across America.
There you go. So let's get into the particulars. Do we know when it first started? Do we know what
2006.
Okay, 06.
Yeah, 2006 when it was first put together. We talked a little bit briefly offline today. Blue Power Ranger, Cacher Blue Power Ranger is the one that created this challenge to begin with, and started back in 2006 and 2007. And they are the ones that came up with the idea and put out a message board or a Yahoo chat back at the time. That was way before all the social media. And asked for volunteers, asked for a volunteer from all 50 states to hide and maintain a cache and put a special code in it. And that's how it was born back in 2006.
Wow, that is awesome. Now, just to give everybody an idea of what's going on tonight, Lori is maintaining it. She's managing it.
Mm-hmm.
Nate, how many of those have you? How many are you up to right now? What's your total right now? You think?
I'm currently sitting at 16 completed.
Oh
states.
wow, okay.
Woohoo.
16. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Would you go ahead?
Oh, and the most recent being this year, just probably 2 months ago.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it worked out too. That Nate's not on call, so we don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about him running to a fire because he's off work. But we've had you on before when we've like, hey, if you have to leave, that's okay. It can happen.
That's
We're
right.
good.
Fortunately, that won't happen today.
Won't happen this time. You're no work tonight. And then Phil, you got a magic, sort of a semi magic number. Where are you at right now?
Right at 49 right now. I'm stalled since I made a trip to Alaska and finished off that one last August. So I got one more to go, and it looks like February is going to be it. So
oh, nice. That's awesome, man.
Looking forward to getting that done.
Yeah, 49, man. That is awesome. So actually, is there actually 51?
51 counting the final.
Yeah.
The final's in Washington, D.C., and then each one of the individual state caches has a code in it. You have to collect the codes from all 50 states and then plug them into a mathematical equation and then solve for the final coordinates. And the final coordinates will take you somewhere in Washington, D.C. for the final.
In that area. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is awesome. So, Nate, is it now that you did the Texas challenge, and it's like any state you've done, you're doing counties in many places. If you don't put in the concentrated effort, then you'll end up like I did when I first started looking at like, maybe I'll do all the Texas counties, and you go look and it's like a mishmash of, it's like you could tell there was like no plan. I got some caches in this county, a line, and then there's nothing. And then, I guess Cache Across America could be similar in that if you don't plan to get them, you may have pockets of states where you found some, but then you're like, why didn't I get Nebraska? I was right there.
Well,
why didn't I get it?
Yeah. So here's the thing about Cache Across America. I would compare it with the DeLorme challenge with states, in that if you do all the counties in each state, you're going to miss DeLorme pages because you won't automatically get the DeLorme pages by doing the counties. So Cache Across America takes it one step further in that there is only one Cache Across America per state. So you could have thousands of finds in a particular state, but not have that state completed to qualify for Cache Across America. So yes, this challenge does require some pretty careful planning. And for me in my travels, whenever I'm going somewhere, I plan on getting the Cache Across America for that state. My route includes that cache, and I make my route around Cache Across America.
Right.
So you absolutely have to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because they're specific. They're not like the oldest in the state where it just ended up being the oldest and it wasn't intentional. Mm-hmm. A lot of times this is supposed to really highlight the state. So it's not something you want to do at midnight or whatever. Like you really have to plan to make sure, number one, you're watching like a hawk to make sure it's going to be there. And then you want to get there during the daytime, because in theory, you're seeing some of the best the state's got to offer. So you don't want to miss out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll come back to that comment question.
Yeah.
But
we'll definitely come back
to
that.
There's a lot of questions. I was trying to star that question. So we've already got some questions that we're going to get to y'all. But so Gary, before we go any further,
go ahead.
How many of you found?
I have not. I need to. That's.
You haven't even done Texas?
No. I think I know where Texas is. It's down by Austin, I think.
Before Gary gets to feeling too bad, I have found 0. I've been in 45 states. I lived and worked right near one of them. It got archived, so in fairness, it moved. And there's one in my state that I'm currently in now, and I've found 0. However, I'm not really a DeLorme person. I've done counties and states and everything else. I'm going to Alaska coming up here. I'm going to start Cache Across America.
Start with Alaska, because you're not going to Alaska that often. So
yeah.
I've
already. So you're going to start with Alaska?
I'm going to start with Alaska. Yeah, hopefully. So
that's a great
might
one
as well,
to start
right?
with.
Hey, that was my most recent one. I did that one in 2022.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna have to start going. I mean, I'm almost done with the states anyway, so I needed something after that to do. So I guess I'm going back to all the states again.
Go back
I
to all the
guess that
states
works.
again.
And
I
Gary,
already
I
plan on
did
going
just
back to
look up.
Hawaii, so
Yep. What are you saying?
I
Go ahead.
confirmed that Texas is in Austin. Right.
Okay, I was
just
correct.
to the
So-
north of Austin.
Okay, cool. I might start with that one. So there was a question earlier, and I want to go ahead and address it now, so we can kind of we understand, and we'll talk more about it. Lori asked about. She's like, many of them are archived. That is true, Lori. But every state's cache across America that's been archived has been replaced with another one. So all 50 states are now represented again, if that makes sense to everybody. That there's
there's
there
a
was
current active one in every state.
Yes.
current act, yes, and there was a period of time where it kind of got a little bit in the weeds, as it were, and it needed to get fixed. And Lori came along and she kind of took the reins, and she got it sort of righted the ship a little bit. And so now here's the thing too, that if I understand correctly, you two guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you find Washington, for example, and it gets archived and the new one comes out, you don't have to go back and try to do all the archived ones.
No.
Okay, yeah, your state is yeah. So
No,
whatever
I
the
hope not.
Yeah,
65
really.
of the ones 15 of the ones I've found have been since archived.
have been archived, and
That'd be a lot of repeat work there.
yeah, that would be bad. So there you go. So a good question, Lori, and yeah, so that's a good thing to know.
I think
But
there's. Would you want to tell people how to get a list of that? I'm sure there's several bookmark lists. But
yeah.
is there a best way to? Now, obviously, for people that know how to use the filters, you can just search with Cache Across America in the name. You'll only get 2 or 3 errant ones in there that are adjacent, that are not actually ones, but it pulls up the current list of all enabled. But I'm surely there's several bookmark lists out there with Cache Across America on as well.
If you pull up any one of the Cache Across America caches and then looked at the bookmark list that cache is attached to, there is a I'm looking at them right now actually, and
yeah, I'm pulling one
Lori
up too.
Bird, our host, actually has a bookmark list on each one of them for Cache Across America.
So after the show,
Yeah.
we'll link that bookmark list in the show notes for anybody that wants to go back
It's-
and get that.
yeah,
link. If you
I do-
search
I
around,
do
you
have it
probably
in the-
find it, but if you're having trouble,
I do
we
have
can
it in
put
the
our
show
notes as
notes.
well. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I got it in there. There's
So-
one list that has them in there, so I don't know if that would.
I know
if
we
that's
kind of
a
touched
help.
on it. Before we get really into the weeds, let's make sure that we always assume everybody knows all this stuff, right? Because it's mostly experienced cachers. But Cache Across America is started in 2006, like you said. There's one in every state. You find all of them, get a code, go to the final. But it's not. So for people that are thinking about tonight, this first they've heard about it. They're not just parking grabs. They range in difficulty, terrain, cache type, and everything, right?
They do.
They're also different. I think people, or at least I made the wrong assumption that they're all traditional. They're not. There are some that
No.
are
No.
there's some multi caches.
Puzzle,
There's
multi-cache,
one multi.
letterbox.
One multi in Connecticut, right?
Yeah, no, Connecticut used to be a multi. That
Oh, okay.
Connecticut is still an original from 2006, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Connecticut used to be a multi, but they turned it into a traditional. But you can't change, you can't change the
Oh, okay, I
type.
got you.
So it's been a traditional at least 10 years. It's been a traditional. The only official multi is Florida.
Okay, Florida, right? And then Delaware is a letterbox.
Yes.
So there's a
Yeah,
few.
Looks,
There's a few odds and ends.
yeah, it looks like Nebraska may be. I guess some of these are cycled through new too, right? Nebraska may be a multi also, or is that an unofficial one?
No. Nebraska is a traditional.
Okay.
Do you
Maybe
ever
it's
have, Yeah, maybe it's somebody else's. Yeah. That's interesting though that there's different cache types in there as well. So and then
Yeah, I
it
love
looks
that.
like there's a 4.5 difficulty 4 terrain. That's a serious cache.
Must be
Montana.
Montana.
Yeah, Montana.
Yeah, it's in Montana. That's a serious cache.
Lori sent me some photos.
Yeah. The Montana one is serious for sure. It is you got to do a little bit of a hike, and it's a rock scramble for quite a ways. I think a quarter mile, something like that.
Wow.
It's pretty serious.
I haven't done that one. That sounds awesome.
It's a great view. Great view. Yeah, you hike over across a dam and then down a trail, and yeah, beautiful.
And since we were just discussing Connecticut, on one note that I'll say about that cache, the log inside that cache, when I found it in 2020, is still the original log from 2006.
Oh, dang. That is awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
I was very, very impressed by that.
That is cool. Lori, you're gonna need you need to explain yourself on this one, okay? I'm gonna show a picture.
Okay.
Oh no.
Oh.
Where are you and what are you doing?
That was Cache Across America, Illinois, at the time when I was working on them. And the cache was down inside that giant stump. And that's where the original Illinois Cache Across America was. Over the years, that stump continued to rot away. And unfortunately, over time, that location became no longer viable. So Illinois was moved. But that was where Illinois was when I found it back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, the Montana one, here's the picture of or at least at the time, the Montana one. You can see Lori's up in the mountains there a little bit. So
that's incredible.
Ammo can. So that's always cool when you find
very nice.
Always nice to find ammo can every now and then.
Montana is definitely the hardest terrain wise. It's the most difficult one, but without fail, when people finish up and they make their list of favorites, Montana is always on the favorites list.
Yeah.
It's interesting. People are starting to look. Owen's got 7, so good for him. And somebody else earlier. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool, for people to go back. 614 Buckeyes got 15. Hope to get a few more by the end of the year. Had to skip Nevada last year, though. Was super close by, but wasn't able to go hike in the Vegas desert. So, yeah. So, as you mentioned before, they're not park and grabs. You kind of have to plan accordingly, right? Is that what y'all would say?
There are a few that would be considered park and grabs. Yeah. Because we leave it to the individual owner to hide them in a place that they feel represents their state. But whenever I took over the series back in 2012, I kind of inherited it the way it was at the time. And some of the caches weren't, some of the caches were still pretty easy to grab, either roadsides. Over time, over the years, as they cycle through and they get replaced, we try really hard to make sure they're at a place that is really representative of the state, that shows off the state, something really good about the state.
That's cool.
Well, that's the goal whenever we replace one.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's a good idea. Yeah, somebody was, let's see, we had several questions.
While you're looking for another comment.
Keep going, Nate. Definitely
I know that Phil can speak to this, having found 49 of them, but for me, who's found 16, I will echo what Lori's just said, in that the Cache Across America finds that I've done have been great finds. They're not necessarily creative, like gadgets. Some people are into gadgets, some people are into difficult, creative cache containers. But with Cache Across America, it's all about the location. And the ones that I have found have all been, usually most of the time, they've been ammo boxes or equivalent at really nice locations that represent the state in the ones that I have found so far.
That's awesome. Thanks for saying that. That's the goal. It's kind of tough to do because you're dealing with 50 individual state owners, and we leave it up to them to decide where they feel best represents the state. But ultimately, it is up to the CO where he or she feels like hiding it and placing it for the state. So we do try really hard and try to work with them and kind of get across that you're representing your home state here. So put it where you think you want somebody to come and see.
And I'll say, I'll point out two of them real quick. Arizona is hidden among the big cactus.
Yeah.
I mean, that represents Arizona, in my opinion. It was
awesome.
It was pretty cool. I mean,
Definitely.
it felt like I was in Arizona when I found that cache.
Yeah.
And then the second one, Kentucky, is at the Corvette Museum, which is a pretty big deal for Kentucky.
It is.
And that's just two examples that I could think of right off the top of my head. And that's just two of 50.
That's awesome. Yeah. It looks like too, with a little bit of planning, you could kind of combine, and I think this is a good idea too, Jesse, is to combine, if you're doing something, you might be able to sort of include caches across America as part of your list. So
highlights of stuff that you're going to get whenever you visit a new area.
Yeah. I mean, J Bean 2921 said the oldest Hawaii cache is on the same trail. So there
oh
you
my
could,
gosh.
I was going to tell you that, Nate. Thanks, J Bean.
I was on that trail. I've got the oldest cache in Hawaii.
Oh,
and I walked past it. You're kidding me?
There you are.
Don't say
that
we're
beautiful
any more.
Aiea
This
loop.
is dumb. I'm mad. I'm out.
The regrets.
Yes. I've been to
All
and Hawaii too. I can't just drive back down there. Oh,
no,
now you got a good reason to go back.
Cache
Jesse,
Fest.
if it makes you feel any better, back in the late 2000s, I think around 6 or 7, I decided to, I was pretty new cacher at the time, and I decided I wanted to find a cache in all 50 states. And I got up to 48. So you know which 2 were left most likely. So I finished 48, and I was talking with a friend, and I said, hey, I got 48 of these. And he said, oh, you're doing Cache Across America? I said, Cache Across what?
Oh,
I'd
no.
never heard of it. So I was at 48 and
Oh man.
How many of those were Cache Across America, Lori? With like
none.
2 or something? None.
0. None. I'd never heard of it. I had no idea.
45 states and 0 Cache Across America. But you know what? I need something for the next 10 years to do anyway. So
yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my gosh.
We need to. So Jesse, we need to set up an event. We need to do 50 events, and we just go to each one like
50 events, 51 events. Because
why are y'all in Wyoming?
Yeah, the challenge.
They're gonna be like, why are y'all in Wyoming now? Well, we needed the Cache Across America, and we both decided this is a good time to go get it. So
this has got to be one of the hardest challenges out there, though. I mean, no disrespect to the Texas Challenge. I know everybody loves that, but there's been almost 300 people do that. There's only been 50 or so people do this challenge.
Exactly.
That tells me which ones. That's a lot harder to go to one specific cache in 50 states.
I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah, I would
I think
agree.
this rivals any challenge out there.
Yeah, because you can't just find a cache in every state. You got to find that cache.
That cache, yeah. There's no way you would get this passed nowadays through a challenge, but it needs to stay active forever. The challenge has been there since 2007, right? So
2006.
Never ever let that get archived.
Yep.
It's definitely a marquee challenge.
Yes, you can never let that get archived for sure.
Now, do y'all know if there's something? I mean, you could do something on your own, but is there nothing official? You don't get a path tag, or like is there any swag you get for finishing all 50?
As a matter of fact,
funny I should ask that.
Can you see? So this is
cool.
Cache Across America official finisher's coin.
Oh, very cool.
Gosh.
Look at that thing.
Yeah.
Wow, that is
looks
awesome.
like my road trip.
So there's the coin, and only finishers can get them.
That thing
awesome.
is
Also, one of our delightful finishers, NP Glenn, he had these patches made.
Oh, cool.
And so everybody that finishes gets 2 of these patches. These are courtesy of NP Glenn, and the coins are courtesy of myself and Z Steve.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so we're
awesome.
pretty proud of that. So
That's very
I
nice.
drew that. Oh, I don't know where the camera is. Woo.
You're good.
Anyway,
You're good.
so yeah, I
Yeah,
drew that.
that's
I'm
awesome.
pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a nice thick coin. I mean, that's like a solid. It's not. Looks like a nice coin. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
look, we got 100 of them, so we've given out 50 so far, but 50 in 17 years or something like that. So I think we're pretty good for a while.
Well, I'd say 51 is going to Phil.
I think so.
Could
Fingers
be.
crossed.
Maybe
I had entertained
maybe
there for a
yours,
minute.
Phil.
Yeah, exactly. I had entertained for a minute of being 50. I thought because I knew that was and I talked to MP Glenn about being 50, and it just seemed like a good milestone. But I just could not get to Hawaii and back fast enough.
Yeah.
And Simi Jellers beat me to it. He's a friend of mine from Maryland. So
Simi Jellers, what a great guy. Yep, he's number 50.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you want to be number 50 was probably a great. It's kind of like it was the same thing with Texas Challenge that they actually auctioned off the 254. So the 254th person to finish Texas Challenge they took the last 4 or 5 and they put them in a lottery and they picked the person that got 254 because everybody wanted 254. So this is a little different. You only have 50 people finishing. So, but yeah, you're right.
So there's a comment in the chat here.
I
think it's Terra Viators.
Terraviators.
Yeah. So I'm sure somebody's created an optimal route for the contiguous 48. So it's funny you should say that. I have long contemplated doing an epic road trip, say a month-long road trip, and do them all in one road trip. I think that would be the coolest thing ever.
48. You wouldn't be able to get.
No,
it'd definitely be the lower 48 for sure. Yes, but in Alaska, Hawaii would be a future trip. But I have long thought. You may remember a couple years ago there was that couple. There was a small group of people who did who visited the lower 48 in what was it, like a 10-day trip. I mean, it was crazy. And so I thought, well, let's take it the next step and let's do Cache Across America. It's going to take more than 10 days because you can't just clip the state and move on. Like you have to go to that one specific cache per state. But I would absolutely, that's a dream of mine. It probably will never happen, but I would love.
Hey Nate,
we gotta do that.
A guy that's off all summer long that would go with you.
I'll take 2 weeks off.
There you go.
It's just 10 days of work off. I can take 10 days.
You can drive to the one in Alaska, and then there's a lot of flights between Alaska and Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty straightforward.
A lot of people knock off Alaska and Hawaii in the same trip.
Wow.
That wasn't that smart. But
a lot of frequency.
That's wild.
But Nate, you're right. We could go from 0 to 48. Well, you don't have 0, but still, Jesse and I are at 0. We could go from
0 to 48.
0 to 48.
Hey, I would have no problems revisiting ones I've already done.
The 15 or whatever.
Exactly.
That's all.
Well, there's new ones. There's 65 new ones in the last 10 years.
In fact, states that I've already been to, several of them are archived already, and we'd be going to the new replacement for that state. So it'd be a new cache for me too. So I think that would be awesome.
If y'all really wanted to make people mad, you could publish one in DC and have everybody start over. Nobody's finished yet.
Nah.
I like it the way it is. Yeah.
It would make so many people mad.
It's enough work as it is.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about that too, Lori, in a moment. But one thing I wanted to ask Phil is that hopefully you did not lose any of your notes over the period of time you've been doing this, because you need the code from all 50 to decipher. Can you imagine if you're like, I'm missing 10. Where's my code for 10 of them? I can't find it.
While you mention it, I do have an Excel spreadsheet of all the codes. And ironically, when I was living in Maryland, Vermont was the first one I found in 2012. And one of the requirements for the series is to take a picture of yourself in the cache at the location.
Yes.
And so when I did that one, it was a bit muddy, and it was kind of a wet
Mm-hmm.
fall
Fuzzy.
sort of deal. And I did not take a picture, and so I did have to go back to that one.
Oh, because you forgot to
so-
grab the code.
Yeah, and at the time I lived over 8 hours away, so
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
so I mean I was coming to Vermont anyways for family, but I still I had to go. It's 2 hours away from where my family lived in Vermont, so I definitely had it was not an easy mistake to rectify. So
Yeah.
Right.
definitely
Right.
take good notes and make sure you get a picture, multiple pictures at every one.
Yeah.
Don't forget. So yeah, so something, Lori. We talked before the show that some weeds had grown up, and you kind of came along and kind of righted the ship, as it were. So as time has gone on from the time that you kind of inherited the management of it, do you have do you kind of keep track of all 50, and then you try to go back and talk to the same CO? But if the cache owner is no longer in the game, do you have to then try to, I mean, how has the management been going for those?
That's the toughest part. I think you're in your show notes. You ask what are the difficulties in taking care of the series. That's the hardest thing. When someone becomes a Cache Across America owner, we talk with them. It's like, it's fine if you ever change your mind, you don't want to do it anymore. That's perfectly okay. Just let me know, and I'll take it back and find a new owner, or we'll get a new cache, whatever. But unfortunately, that's not really how it happens in real life. Sometimes cachers just disappear. And,
Right.
Since they're individually owned, just like any other cache, sometimes they kind of get left behind and stop being maintained. So it's a difficult situation sometimes, because Cache Across America players are so good. They're always doing field maintenance. I get emails,
Sure.
The code's missing, the log needs a new, whatever. But Cache Across America players are very good about keeping them up and running. However, there's a point when we don't want to keep them up and running anymore, whether the location's no longer viable, or there's probably a better place it could be going forward. Sometimes there are legit reasons that we need to find a new location.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we don't want the community maintaining them anymore. And then we try very hard. We email, the COs and ask how we can help. Can we adopt them back? And sometimes we just don't hear back.
Sure.
A couple of states actually took us, several years to archive and move, because I have no control over individual state-owned caches, and I'm kind of at the mercy of the CO to take care of the cache. And if they don't want to any longer, they can certainly give it to me, and I'll take care of it going forward. But that just doesn't always happen. So then if we have to go through an archival process, as you know, it takes a while. The reviewers will say, hey, in 30 days, I'll come back. Sometimes they come back at day 28 and say, yeah, I'll go take care of it. And then we start the cycle again. And sometimes it takes us many months to get a new cache placed when one needs to be replaced and moved. So that's the hardest thing, because you walk a fine line. You don't want to upset the original COs.
Sure.
But sometimes they disappear. A lot of these were placed in 2006, 2007. Caching wasn't terribly old then. And so a lot of casual players, or people that maybe put this out and haven't really cached since. So it's a bit of a dance. And we take each state on an individual basis. We'll look at the location. Is it a crowd favorite? If it is, we'll try to find a new owner for it if we can. I usually end up, if I can get a hold of them, I'll adopt them and find a new owner for them. But if it's a place where we could do better, then we'll go through the archival process and find a new owner. That's another that can be tough too, is finding the right person to place a new one. So every state is different.
Right. Do you then do you have a process of trying to find a new CO? Are you looking for COs like in that general area? Or do you look
The process, yeah. If I know somebody or I know of, it's like
Yeah.
7 degrees of separation. You can get recommendations, and
Sure.
recommendations carry a lot of weight. Lately, what I've been doing is we actually have a Facebook page of Cache Across America finishers. And so I'll go on there. It's like, hey guys, I need a new owner for Wyoming if you know anyone.
Right.
So, Cache Across America finishers, they understand how important the game pieces are. And so they are a very good resource. Current COs and finishers are really good resources when I need a recommendation if I just don't know anyone in a state. And it's hard because there are so many cachers that would be awesome owners, but how do you find them and vet them? And so like I said, every state is different, and we weigh all the factors. Is it the original 2006? Is it a good place? Do we want to keep it here? Do we want to move it? So every state goes through a little review process and see what we should do about that one.
Phil, did you run across any? I would think they'd be mostly in the older ones, but did you run across any that? Because we've all done this, where you put a cache out and you're like, it's pretty secure. I think I put everything in there. I wrote the code on the lid. Did you find any where you're like, yeah, I can't read this code? There's no way.
Yeah, there was one or two, I think, that you got a Sharpie with you, so you try and touch up the code or whatever. I think Ohio didn't have the code in. I think it was some community maintenance or whatever. I did find one in Missouri that I was so happy to find that one, because I'd been driving a very long time. It was probably like about midnight or so, and it was way down in the woods there, and it had not been found by several people. And there, basically, that area was a forest, it was a national forest or something, and there'd been a bunch of logging, and so they had skidders and stuff in there and cutting down trees and stuff. And I managed to find it, try and balance it on logs and walking through, and it was archived like basically right after that. Back in, that was like in 2014. Very happy to find that one, because I have not really been back to Missouri since then.
What usually happens is the cacher will write to the CO and say, hey, the code's missing or whatever. And the CO usually responds. And if they don't, I get an email. They'll tag me and say, hey, I was here. They'll send me a picture. I was at Vermont. The code was missing. That's one that just happened recently.
Yeah.
So they email me. If they show me a picture that they were there, then I'm going to give them the code. It's, this isn't meant to be, a showstopper. The travels are what's important. So if somebody's really there, then we want to help them out.
Yeah, it's not a gotcha, right?
Right. Absolutely not.
Probably though, too. Right. Part of that, though, I guess in a sense is a good thing, is that if people are doing Cache Across America, they're sort of invested. Obviously, we got two guys on who are fully invested, and if there is a code missing, A, they're going to prove to you that they were there, but B, they can do. I know we're not supposed to maintain other people's caches, but if there's a way to, like he said, if there's a way to fix if something has been there for so long that it's finally become sort of faded out of memory, you could kind of, at least kind of do a quick correction on the code or whatever. So that's kind of nice.
Kind of a cool stat. After we spoke earlier today, I went and looked at the list, and there are 23 originals from 2006 and 2007 that are still there. So 23 are still the original placements, the original Cache Across Americas.
That's
amazing.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
23. I mean, that's
pretty good. And then others
have
been replaced 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to keep it. One, it's a huge challenge. 2, it's a lot of travel. But not only to keep it, I mean, it's across 50 states and it's been going this long. That's remarkable in and of itself. But the fact that people have been going for it for years too, and I'm sure there's tons of people that are halfway through or part of the way through or whatever, or one to go. But it's remarkable. The scale of the challenge for this and the management is pretty remarkable.
It's definitely a labor of love. And speaking of labor, this is a good spot to segue into this. I'd be remiss. I get a lot of help from Z Steve. You mentioned earlier about watching all 50. Steve watches all 50, and he lets me know when there's trouble with one's missing, something's going on with them. He also lets me know if somebody's getting close to finishing. So
Cool.
so I gotta give him a shout out because he does a lot of legwork for me and helps me out a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when really a question for all three of you, but when you look back on the experience, what are some of the ones that stand out? And they might stand out in a good way, or for you, like Phil said earlier, Vermont sort of stands out, not just in a different way, but what are some ones that come to mind? And
good and bad.
Good, yeah. Just memorable. What's a memorable one for you, Lori?
Actually, three pop in my mind. We talked about Montana already. The terrain in Montana is just phenomenal. Wyoming is a favorite. It's near the famous marrying tree in near the Tetons in Wyoming, and it's just cool. It's just a stunningly gorgeous location. You just stand there in awe and looking at it. I love that one, Wyoming. Missouri was a favorite, being in the childhood home of Walt Disney, going into Disney's old barn. So that was a favorite too. So yeah, I mean, there's tons of favorites because some I did with friends. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, you were very excited about that one.
That was number 50.
Oh, that 50 for you? That was
50th. Yeah. So yeah,
you're
that was a really
excited.
Good day. Yeah.
Lori, for audio listeners, Lori's jumping way up in the air and got a photo of her doing that. But that's a cool spot. That's a great location for one of those.
I did that one with a friend who lived in Missouri, and he took me there, and we took that photo. He got that photo in one shot.
That's one shot. Nice. You get worn out going, okay, we're going to do it again. Oh my gosh, really? You're going to do it again?
But I think the favorite ones, I did lots of them with lots of different friends and people. And I think the experience of having your friends along, makes, even if the cache is just not so memorable at one or another, but you remember the trip with a friend.
Bundle up when you do this one, Jesse. So.
Oh gosh.
Alaska.
Yeah.
It's in Wasilla, Alaska, right?
It was in Wasilla then. That was the original one, was in Wasilla, and then it moved down to Anchorage for a while, and now it's back near Wasilla.
I don't know how close I'm going to get on my trip, so I might have to go back to Alaska twice. Ugh.
You may have to.
It's only about an hour from Anchorage. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're cruising up there, so maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. I guess it depends on my stops.
So I'd like to hear the favorites of the guys so far.
Yeah.
Nate?
Sure, yeah. So I was actually just looking through my list. I have a notes on my phone where I keep all the codes, and then I write a couple sentences about each one just so I can remember. And so there's 4 that really stick out as some of my most memorable and favorites so far. The first of which is South Dakota. I found that one. That was my second ever cache across America, and I wasn't even working on the series at the time. Just so happens I was driving down the interstate and wanted to get a cache in South Dakota. If I recall, I hadn't even gotten that state yet.
Timing?
And so my dad and I, we pulled off the interstate and found the cache, and it just so happens there was a den of baby foxes nearby. And there's probably 3 or 4 baby foxes just playing, and probably about 50 feet from where we were, and we just sat there and watched them for a little while. I think I even maybe sent you a picture of one of them.
That picture's adorable.
Yeah, that was really, really fun. Another one was Maine. Back in 2020, we were up there doing counties, and of course, at that point, I was working on the challenge, and it took us to a really cool fort, and we looked for the cache. Oh, there's the fox. Yep. one of the baby foxes sitting there looking at us.
Yep.
That was really fun. That was very memorable.
That's awesome. Go ahead.
I'd actually forgotten that was a Cache Across America find. That was just a geocaching memory of mine. And then when I was preparing for this podcast about Cache Across America, I went back to my search for Cache Across America pictures, and that one popped up, and I remembered that was from South Dakota. So that was really cool. So this fort in Maine, of course, Maine being one of those states that's way out of the way for me, long ways from home, I'm probably not going to be coming back to it. We get to ground zero and we search. There's 4 of us searching, and we searched and searched and searched, and we couldn't find it. And it had been recently found probably within a week, and we turned that place upside down and could not find it.
Oh, no.
So we actually left that day. I was pretty disappointed. I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to be coming back to Maine. I reached out to the cache owner, and they were very responsive, and actually checked on the cache the very next day, confirmed that it was missing, replaced it, and it just so happens that we were coming back through about 4 days later, and we were able to find it. So that was a huge one. I was very happy to get that one crossed off. And then quickly, Delaware was a memorable one. Mm-hmm. We did that one in the middle of a fierce thunderstorm, and that one required a little bit of a hike to get to it. So we were soaked by the time we got done with that. And I was really hoping that we wouldn't get electrocuted with our umbrellas because there was a lot of lightning in the area. I was like, I've got to get this cache. I'm not leaving Delaware without getting this cache. And,
right.
And so, you know, thunderstorm. I mean, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Was it safe? Absolutely not. But we did it. So, and then lastly, my most recent find in California. So that is the first Cache Across America find that I've done that I actually planned the airport that we were going to fly into based on where the Cache Across America cache was.
Just to make it perfect, just to optimize. That's
absolutely
awesome.
So my wife's family lives in the Napa Valley in California, so we've made frequent trips there. I just haven't worked on the challenge up until just in the last few years. So in planning our most recent trip out to California, I looked to see where the Cache Across America was, and it was near San Jose. So I have never flown into San Jose before. We always go Sacramento or San Francisco, but for this particular trip,
San Jose.
we flew into San Jose. We got a rent car because normally my in-laws come and get us from the airport, but they're not going to come all the way to San Jose.
Right.
And so we got a rent car, and we went to the Cache Across America, which, by the way, has recently moved locations. The location that it was at was apparently, from what I understand, a very cool location. It's just the city has done some work, or actually I think the storming, some flooding has actually caused that area to the cache owner is basically forced to find a new location. But the new location where it's at now is excellent. It's fantastic. It is up in the mountains of the Bay Area, and it's surrounded. The walk to it is you're going through the redwoods of California. I mean, talk about representing the state. The new location for California is spectacular. And
Nate, I gotta tell you, thank you so much for that, because the owner, that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. When we need to replace one, we try very hard to put it in a really good spot. And that owner, R. Reagan, he's a friend of mine actually. And he just spent days and days and days trying to decide where to locate that when he moved it. It did have to be moved. The old one was by a creek, and the storm erosion had taken out the spot. It was no longer viable. It couldn't be put back there anymore.
Right.
So it had to be moved. So thank you for that. And if he's not watching, I'll drop him a note and tell him that, because he's a wonderful CO. And
yes.
Yeah, so
and I did some communication with him prior to making that trip, because of course, if you're going to plan your airport around this cache, you know, I had some questions about it. So I was communicating with him, and he told me that he was getting ready to move it, and he even offered to keep the cache, to keep the original location active until I went through. Just so that I could get it. And that was going above and beyond. I mean, that was really nice of him to be able to do. But I told him, you know, when he told me where he was going to be put it, and it was up in the redwoods, I said, no, I'll go to the new location. I'll just plan my itinerary around going to that new location. And so, and I'm glad we did, because it's in a really, really nice place now.
Phil, we're starting to get toward the end tonight. If you have any more questions, please put them in the chat room, and we'll try to get to them as we start to get to a point of wrapping up tonight. But Phil, what other than the Vermont thing, which we've all done, trust me, my friend, we've all done that. What are some that really stand out?
I'll highlight 4 that definitely stand out for me. One, Alaska, because that's the one I just did most recently. So I'm very happy to get that done. I would say Hawaii and Alaska are probably the 2 hardest. I mean, the Montana one's high DT and all that, but like getting to those 2 places is obviously the crux of the series, I would think. But so Alaska, I lived in Alaska for a long time, so it was really nice to get back there and find that cache. That was really great.
That's cool.
Then Kentucky was really cool. Because it's at the Corvette Museum. Well, I guess it's kind of up in the air right now, but at the time it definitely was. The little bit of serendipity there, I just happened to pull my phone and look, and in the museum at that time, they were hosting, I think, the last version of the U.S. Adventure Maze. And so
that's right.
managed to score that and the maze at the same time, completely unplanned and just a blessing. That was just so crazy.
Yeah.
And then Maine, another weird thing that happens when all the geocaching and all the just the way things come together. There's a friend of mine who, I was in the Navy, he was in the Army, and we were both stationed in San Diego, and I met him at Swag in Arizona, the Mega, and so we knew each other in California. And then I had moved to the East Coast, and we were both working on Cache Across America. He's a finisher now. His name's Colorado. And so I'd seen his name. I was on a trip up to Maine, and I'd seen his name in the Rhode Island one. And then I continued on to Maine and was doing some more stuff. And we met up at the Maine CAA, like within minutes of each other. So it was just completely unplanned, had no clue. And boom, we just, we knew each other from the West Coast, and we both had transferred away from each other. And then boom, we met at a CAA cache. Just there you go. Just complete surprise.
Sweet.
And then probably the last one is, I think probably one of the premier ones of the series is Idaho. You think about the mountains and the woods and stuff in Idaho, but a lot of southern Idaho is very flat. And it's just a little bit of a plateau and just nothing but fields and stuff like that. And so you're driving along the interstate, you're coming along, and then you dip off the interstate about an hour and a half south, and then you go through a military training range, and you're driving through these grass fields, and it's really scenic for grass fields, but it's still grass fields. The sky is really pretty and all that kind of stuff. And you're going along, and then boom, you pop out, and like you don't really know until you're like within several hundred feet of parking, but you're at the Snake River, and it's like driving up to the Grand Canyon, completely unexpectedly. You had no clue, and it's just boom, there it is, and it's amazing. It's really a very stunning location. Definitely fits the series for sure. Spectacular.
That's awesome.
So those are probably my 4 top ones, I'd say. For sure.
Y'all just give me all the inspiration I need to keep going, man.
Keep going.
Well, thank you, Lori, because I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that too. I was trying to find the right time to bring that in, but I know I've messaged Lori a couple times, but I do want to publicly say a big thank you to her for all the work that you're doing to keep this series alive, because this really is a premier challenge for geocaching. And I mean, I'd love to see this continue on forever, but I know that it's a lot of work. So I do want to say a big thank you to Lori for all the effort that goes into this.
Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you think about like a couple of the original challenge cache type things, right? You got the Jasmer, you got the Fizzy, you got the Play State, you got the Found Date, and then I'm sure there's one or two others, but those are all pretty natural kind of things that just you can get from looking at your regular geocaching statistics. But when you think about this, back in 2007, that's a really big idea to have individual specific caches that you have to go find.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's lots of other caches, you know, like, oh, have you found 1,000 traditionals or whatever that, you know, just kind of come out of the game, the statistics and stuff like that. But if you think about how old this is and like how it's such a big idea from 2007.
Yeah, Blue Power Ranger, their idea back in 2006, it was just that, what a wonderful idea. I'm so grateful to them. And in 2012, they contacted me and asked me if I was interested in taking it over and seeing what I could do with it. And I said, absolutely. And I'm really grateful to them. They didn't have to. They could have just let it go. And instead, they decided to let someone else take care of it. And I'm grateful to them for that.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, you're right, Phil. It has some panache behind it versus 1,000, traditionals, yeah. Okay. But it doesn't have the aura, around it like a Cache Across America finisher does. So, I guess go ahead. I was gonna say, Jesse, I was gonna have you go give some final thoughts, and then we'll kind of go around the room and let everybody give a final moment.
Oh, I was gonna hit. K-Blast is dying to know the fastest time anybody's ever finished this. Of course, he wants to race now, but I think it's already been answered.
I'd have to go look up his name. Yeah, there's a guy that knocked it out. It was unbelievable, and then he just kind of disappeared. I can't recall his name right now. But he did it. Oh, shoot. I'll have to look it up after the show for you.
I'm curious too. I would have figured Z Steve because, he finished within, I think the current final was placed in May 20th, 2007, and he signed it May 26th. So
yeah, he was the first finisher.
That's insane, by the way.
Yeah, he and his daughter, they went out and he's told me some stories that he was literally out on the road. He was semi-retired at the time, and he and his daughter were out on the road, and they were literally driving to states and waiting for the cache to be published for that state. They were working on it before it was finished.
Wow.
I think it's fair to say that if anybody finishes this, that's probably, like we said, the biggest challenge you could possibly set out to do.
Yeah.
But ever, like in years, if you do it. But somebody, going out and doing them in an insane amount of time. I mean, you can't put anything. Cashers are going to do it, right? They're going to race. If you can do this, I can do it better. But I think if anybody, and there's been 50 or whatever, and a few probably pretty close, if anybody accomplishes this has to be one of the biggest things you can do in geocaching. It's even all 50 states is easier than this. And that's about as hard as you can get. This is one specific cache in all 50 states. So I can't imagine topping this.
I know. All right. Yeah. I'm blown away. I'll say something real fast. Just the fact that I've heard of it, but I didn't really I guess have enough people who sort of mention it. So one thing I would encourage everyone who's listening or watching tonight is to, if you get an opportunity to encourage others to do Cache Across America, I would really encourage others to do that. So that would be my encouragement, is let people know about it. I think some people don't know. UDAC mentioned she didn't know. She was up in an area and didn't get the California, but she can always go back. She's right there. But that would be my final thought. So I guess who else wants to go? And we'll let Lori go last, and she's kind of she's the one, the grand poobah. She's managing it. So
I would just say go find them. Like don't wait.
Yeah.
Get going.
Okay, Nate. What are your
So just going through the chat, I see a lot of people who are inspired to start this challenge now, or some people who have done a couple and didn't realize they'd done a couple and said, well, you know what, I've got 48 to go. You know, it's just I'm seeing a lot of inspiration, and that's really awesome. So I challenge everyone who has inspiration from this show. If you want some more inspiration, spend some time tonight or tomorrow and go to the Cache Across America series finale cache page and read the logs.
Yeah.
Read the logs. I tell you, one of the best cache logs that I have ever seen on geocaching ever came from the most recent finder. Semi-Jellers. Hilarious. I was literally laughing out loud.
Oh wow.
Reading that log, and it was just raw experience of finding all 50, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So go through and read the logs. Literally, you're looking at probably an all-day endeavor reading all the logs, because there's a lot of people who watch the cache, and when somebody logs a find, there's a lot of people that post notes after that find,
a lot of right notes,
congratulating. They're congratulating the most recent finder, and it's just it's unlike any other cache in geocaching. So if anybody wants to know, the GC number is GC 12E08. 12E08. So go and check that out. It's awesome.
Yeah, we have the Wall of Fame. Everyone who's ever finished has got a photo on the page, and it's like a family. It's really like a family.
Yeah, definitely.
Phil, what are you're not a finisher, but you're darn close, as we say down here in the South.
Close, not close enough though. Yeah, I totally echo Nate's comments about
so
Semi-Jellers. Check him out on Instagram, because he's a spectacular photographer as well. Very humorous guy, and he writes all of his cache logs like that. Yeah,
he does.
Definitely. Yeah, Semi SIMMYJELLERS. So, like Jimmy Sellers, only Semi-Jellers. And he's great. Very humorous, and a spectacular photographer too.
So you're just 2 away.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
2.
But I mean, like you were saying before, I mean, you've had some great memories already. So that's awesome.
We have the owner for the Colorado cache watching.
Yes, he's brand new. He's a great new owner.
That's
Eric,
awesome.
Yep. EGK PBR. Yeah, he's been a big supporter of the Geocache Talk Network over the years.
Awesome.
Well, as Phil and Nate have been as well. They're and I'm grateful to you guys for helping keep the show running over the years. And so Lori, we're gonna let you have the last word. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've got 2 perspectives, one from a finisher and one from the coordinator. Okay. So as a finisher, I'll never forget it. I mean, it's been a few years for me now. I finished, I was number 6 in 2010. By the way, you never forget what number you are either. So number 6 in 2010, but it was something I was going to tackle in retirement. I really wasn't planning on doing it, especially after I found out that I'd been to 48 states and had never heard of this thing, and I didn't want to start over.
Right.
But one day, I was on my way to Alaska for my 49th state. And so I was like, well, I'll just get the Cache Across America instead. So that'll be my first one. So Alaska was my first one because I was headed there anyway. And then one day I was in Atlanta. I was like, well, how far am I from Alabama?
Right.
And it starts like that. And the next thing you know, you're just, above your head into it. A good buddy of mine, he swore he wasn't going to do it either. I hope I get the states right. But he was going from New Mexico to Arizona. And he texted me. He goes, yep, I'm going to Arizona from New Mexico by way of Montana.
Right. Montana.
Yeah. And he's a finisher now, by the way. So it gets to you. So
awesome.
as a player, as a coordinator, I guess the main thing I'd like to leave with people is that when one of them's in trouble, when one's missing or one needs some repair or needs to be fixed, I guarantee you, we're already on it. We've been already trying to contact the owner forever. It's a dance we do.
Sure.
So when there's a problem with one, we're aware of it and we're doing our best, but sometimes we just have to let the process work itself out. And
Right.
sometimes that means a state has to go without for a bit. You know, sometimes the cure is, anyway, it's all about the end result. So,
Yeah.
So bear with us. You know, we've got 50 owners in this thing, and we do our best to keep them all running at the same time. And so just keep that in mind. There are real people behind these things, and we're doing our best.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. So thanks, Jesse. I actually let you, as we, I was going to let Lori kind of have the last, but I guess
No,
from
I don't
a
even
guest
want to talk about it. I just looked up. I've been within like 800 feet of a couple of these. No caches near them. I'm like Lori. I've already been to 45 states, and I'm going to have to start at 0. And it's
okay. It's okay.
I mean, I'm still going to do it. I'm absolutely going to start and do it now, but I just have to get everything again. And it's just like all of us lamenting about the areas we could have cached in before we started caching. We've traveled all over the world, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Just start. If you're ever near one of these, start doing it, because even if you don't want to do it now, you will want to do it in the future, and you're going to have to go back to them. So just start grabbing them now.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. Good show. Thank you guys and gal for being on tonight. Y'all are wonderful, and really good conversation tonight. And we'll see. Hopefully people will join next Thursday. Join and celebrate with us the lineup for Podcast of Hope, which is kind of crazy. I love the fact we do a show about a show. So makes me laugh every time. And then, and then come back here next Sunday, 7 p.m. Central. From now on, 8 p.m. Eastern. Figure out, do the math and figure out whatever time zone you're in. And again, thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.
May your finds be many, and your DNFs be few. May the terrain and difficulty both be less than 2. And whatever it is you're looking for, may it find its way to you. And may we all meet again.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.